Scott. Happy Halloween and welcome back, guys. This is another edition of the Gridiron Fantasy Football Podcast, Halloween edition. We are getting ready for next Monday, Halloween, but we've got some football games that we've got to get in. So it's nice to see you, Scott. How are you doing?
Good to see you too, buddy. It's happy Halloween. It's good to be back. What are you dressed up as today?
Oh, I'm the Tin Man. Me and the kids are gonna go out on Monday. I got me as a Tin Man. Stephanie is going to be Scarecrow. I got my daughter Kennedy as Dorsey, and Carter's going to be a little Cowardly Lion. So pretty pumped up about that.
Nice. That's a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
family costume idea.
And you? And you? Indigo
You can't
Montoya?
close.
Close.
I'm dressed up as a better fantasy football manager. Can't you tell?
Yeah, so that's what a better fantasy football manager looks like.
Yeah, a smile, confidence.
Okay.
A little pep in his step. Like a few wins under his belt. All those kind of good things.
Yes,
But
I mean
yeah.
we are doing this podcast week after week, and you continue to have terrible luck in the gridiron, and I'm trying not to go there. In fact, we won't go there yet, but we are going to go there. I'm sorry, I just want to prepare
I
you.
mean, no, it is, it is what it is. You don't win a championship every year.
True.
For some people, they don't win it ever, but you
Yeah,
don't win it every year.
true.
So, it's just something you gotta learn from. That's the biggest thing. An L is only a loss if you don't learn a lesson.
True. Very true. I like that. Uh, let's start out. What are you watching? It's still a busy week. It's spooky week. What are you watching right now?
Main thing I'm watching right now is Andor. I think we've got another 2 episodes to the end of the season. They're on episode 8 right now. It's been really, really good show. I think it's been very kind of a gritty storyline on its own without needing any of the large, fanciful Star Wars storylines or main characters, which has been very compelling. And it's been a little more gritty and real, which I've really enjoyed. And yeah, that's really been the main thing we want to talk about. But one other thing, I know
Sure.
how I trashed the end of She-Hulk last week.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did see a bit of a thing that like could make it better.
Hmm.
So someone mentioned her assistant. I can't remember what her name is. The actress did really well in that role. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
so she wears a lot of jewelry the whole time. I didn't realize the jewelry, the emblem she's wearing is the same emblems that Agatha wears from the WandaVision series.
No.
It's the same emblems. And in that series, Agatha does look straight at the camera. She doesn't break the fourth wall, but she does look straight at the camera. And that's a choice to make because a director will always be like, no, don't look at the camera, actor. You're a
Right.
fucking idiot.
Big no.
So that's it. Yeah, so that was a choice she made. And at one point in She-Hulk, the assistant looks straight at the camera as well. It doesn't say anything either, but looks straight at the camera. I'm saying there's potential for the show to be better than the crap ending that it had. So that would be cool.
Well, it's not the end of She-Hulk. We're going to see a
No,
lot of
there's
She-Hulk.
yeah,
I
but
I bet you we're going to see multiple seasons of She-Hulk. There's going to be a lot
I've
of it,
been
but
told there's supposed to be 2 seasons at least.
yeah. And I think Agatha's got her own thing brewing as well, her own spinoff.
I thought I agree. I've heard that as well. But she was a really good character. I just think that would be the only thing that could save that ending. So it was like it didn't make sense at all. She just broke the fourth wall and then was like, "Hey, it's over." I called the cops, and it was like, "Cool." What end of a superhero show or movie was it? Was it where the guy goes, "Hey, I called the cops on him. All right, see you in 20 minutes," and that's the end. It's like that's about as lame as it possibly gets. So
She's a lawyer. She's a lawyer and she's a
she's a lawyer.
superhero. I
She
don't.
followed the law.
She has to. I mean, otherwise people will think that she's a crazy, out of control, villainous superhero.
Is
So
It sounds kind of like a double standard for women, though, because I don't see any male superheroes abiding by the law and worrying whether they're going to get in trouble or not. They just kind of do whatever the fuck they want to do and go, "You're welcome," and that's it.
mm, yeah, She-Hulk taking us back down a peg out of all this progress that we made for women. Uh,
Yeah. What are you
uh,
watching right now?
House of Dragon, the finale. I don't know if you watched it all the way through or if watched it at all.
I've watched most of it. I've not gotten to the finale. I've just been a bit busy this past couple weekends, but I'm meaning to catch up this weekend.
Show gets significantly better after the first 3 or 4 episodes. I don't like the fast forward. I don't like how they separate so many years and try to do that in one season. I've talked about this with other people, and eh, you know, people are like, well, would you want the king to drag that whole thing to be dragged out over 3 seasons? Yes, absolutely. I would. I wanted more of the king. I wanted more of these characters. I wanted more development of these characters. They've gone from children to now adults, vying for the throne. So yeah, I mean, there's a few criticisms, but like I said, the show gets a lot better as it progresses to the end of the season. So something to look forward to if you haven't watched it yet.
I'll have to check it out. I will say I was a little disappointed on the lack of nudity in House of Dragons. I feel like in Game of Thrones, it was like 3 times an
Right.
episode.
Yeah.
They were just like, bam, nudity right in your face. House of Dragons,
Yep.
they're like, no, no, no.
There's
You get to see
none.
one kid jerking off out a window, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. One jerk off kid, and that was
yeah,
pretty much the extent of the
yeah.
nudity. So, yeah, fair criticism. Let's get into football. Let's get into football. That's why we
If
came
we
here,
have to.
right? Yeah, that's why we came here. We came here to talk about some football in our spooky attire. All right, let's get it out of the way. 0-7. What kind of emotional toll does that take on you throughout the season? I mean, pretty much you've got 7 games left. You have to win all 7 and you still might not make the playoffs. How does that feel?
Feels pretty fucking awful. Not gonna lie. I've made a lot of moves. I've made a lot of trades. I've moved people around, and no matter what I did, and no matter how long they were on my team before they were off to someone else's, it's like they knew they were on my team. They just decided to suck until they got off my team or something. It's been quite infuriating. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yep,
you don't win a ship every year, and sometimes there's just things out of your control, and
true.
when players have been doing so well, and then you put them to start, and they just decide to suck. Not really much you can do.
There's
So
really not. I mean, and I have to say you haven't managed terribly. It's just things really haven't gone your way. I mean, yeah, every year we take risks, right? We take risks every single year, and sometimes those risks don't pay off. You're not going to win if you play by the guidelines that are set out before you by the experts prior to the season. You're not going to
sure.
win if you just do that. You have to take risks. You have to say, everybody says this guy's going to be bad. I'm going to take a shot at him. Everybody says this person's going to be good. I'm going to pass on him for X reasons, whatever. And it seems like you took a lot of risks and lost this year, and it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So um, hopefully you can dig yourself out and, you know, at the very least, not get the dreaded last place, right? So
Yeah.
obviously you got to fight to the end not to get one of those on your record. Let's talk about around the gridiron. Okay, let's get into our fantasy league. Old man syndrome. Okay, we've talked about this in the past. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, falling apart. Russell Wilson doing terrible. These guys that we've known for the last decade plus, 2 decades in Brady's case, to be fantasy superstars and carry our teams to fantasy glory are now sputtering to the point where they can't even score a touchdown or, in Brady's case, beat the Panthers this last week. Matt Ryan is the first to fall out of a starting seat permanently. Sam Ellinger, the old quarterback for the Texas Longhorns, is taking over. Do you think this is an improvement? Do you think there's anything that automatically off the top of your head improves from getting Matt Ryan out from under center?
Uh, Not necessarily. Honestly, I see it more as an announcement, like, hey, we're not going to win this year. If you want to try to offer us, X amount of picks for some good players, call us is what they're saying to the rest of the league, basically. Like, we're closing up shop. We're thinking about next year. We're thinking about the draft. And honestly, if if you take away the pedigree in the past of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, if you just take that away and you start everything from day one in this season, Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady in the same boat, and Matt Ryan's already been benched. Do you think that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady would be benched as well if we're just looking at this season?
I don't think Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers would have be considered. I mean, Tom Brady, there's not really somebody behind him that I'm super
Sam
confident in.
Ellinger isn't somebody behind Matt Ryan either.
He
They just throw out a warm body out there and
he
we're like, hey
blazed through the
Matt, this is
preseason.
bad.
He had a great preseason. He's got that mobile
So
aspect.
did Mitchell Trubisky.
They have offensive weapons in Pittman and Alec Pierce, obviously Jonathan Taylor, who's the number one running back coming into the season, a stable of tight ends, Paris Campbell. They've got a decent O-line. I mean, they've got the weapons, not to mention, even with Matt Ryan, their passing ranks as far as passing yards, passing efficiency is pretty good. Watching Matt Ryan was awful, but what we don't realize is he did okay as far as the numbers are concerned. Very deceiving, these numbers, because when you actually watched him play, it was like nails on a chalkboard. But the Colts offense is by metric standard pretty dang good. So Ellinger is coming into a situation that is really good. If you're talking about Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady is not going to be replaced because Tom Brady, by any other person's
No,
standards,
I know he's not going to be replaced because he's Tom Brady. But if the
no,
way he's playing is here, he's sucked. So if you take away his past, you're just like, wow, this guy sucks. Let me put in someone that doesn't fucking suck. Then that's it. That's all. I'm talking about what have you done for me lately, and that's what everybody gets compared to, except for these guys that got an MVP or Super Bowl fucking 5+ years ago, which shouldn't matter anymore because they're
he's
not the
10.
same guy.
He's QB
He's
10.
not. They're not the same guy.
He's still a QB1. He's QB10 right now. As much as
So he's on the cusp. He's on the cusp.
no, I think people on the cusp are people like down at the Russell Wilson is somebody where it's like, put him on the bench.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
bad.
but they already paid him guaranteed money for the next 5 years, so they can never bench him.
Matthew
He could
Stafford.
lose every game for the rest of the year, and they wouldn't bench him because they're so fucking committed to him. That's why that contract doing 5 years guaranteed is the dumbest thing to ever fucking do. You give him no incentive. You give him no actual reason to try harder. Why? You already guaranteed him the money. It doesn't matter to him anymore.
Yeah.
So it's quite a foolish way to go about business.
Okay, so Inigo Montoya. So if you had to pick one person off this offense that you want, though, besides Sam Ellinger, obviously, in our league, he's not for sale. I've thrown all kinds of different trades at the Maestro, trying to grab Sam Ellinger, who's had for a couple weeks, and nothing's come of it. If there's one offensive player that you think improves upon a mobile quarterback, a young, fresh quarterback that can move the pocket, who do you think it is?
It'd be Jonathan Taylor. A running game is always the best friend to a young quarterback because then all the pressure isn't on you. Mm-hmm. But their run game hasn't necessarily been there this year. So and now Taylor had an ankle injury not too long ago. So I don't know how great an offense is going to be. I mean, Michael Pittman, he basically just uses his body and just shields out the defensive backs to catch things. It's not a great offense. It's good. It's right. Okay because they have some good players and they have a pretty decent offensive line. Its biggest problem is it's pretty fucking predictable. Like there aren't that many like
with Matt Ryan
when things happen. Yeah, but with Sam Ellinger, I don't see them reinventing the wheel there with Sam Ellinger. I think it's still going to be pretty mediocre offense.
Gotcha. I like Alec Pierce, and I know I'm a homer saying that because he's on my team. He's on a lot of my teams, and I've been a big Alec Pierce fan all year. I just think when you have somebody in a short yardage situation like Alec Pierce is in that 10 to 20 yard range, a lot. You kind of become a quarterback's best friend, especially a young quarterback's best friend. And somebody who's a really good route runner like Alec Pierce can really open up space and build trust with somebody like that. So I like Alex Pierce prospects. I liked him with Matt Ryan, and I like him even better as a slot guy and a wide receiver 3-ish, if we're talking fantasy person going forward. So we'll have to see, but I think the Colts do well. I think that's a really valuable pickup, and that's why I really am trying to get him. Trying to move Kenny Pickett away from Kenny Pickett, not really working. Nobody wants to buy him, so I'll stick with him for now. But yeah, let's see. So Matt Ryan goes down. If there is a person, realistically, who do you think the next starter to start the year, or even somebody that didn't start the year, who would you think the next person to sit down is?
Um, I mean, because like we are just talking about, Russell should be benched, but they're not going to bench him because they paid him too much money.
Mhm.
I think Tua shouldn't really be playing. Obviously, I've said that before,
But
but
not for performance
that's up
reasons.
to him. No, no, not performance reasons. Just for health reasons before they cart him off the field. Uh, it's tough to say. It's tough to say. Who do you think is going to be benched next?
Mariota. I think that if
Oh,
you had somebody
yeah,
that, the Falcons aren't really going anywhere. They're running the game like they're fucking Navy, where they run like 8 plays in a row, rushes. It's not good to watch. They're not featuring their stars, Drake London and Pitts. They're trying to
yeah,
win literally by controlling the clock and hoping that they can't put their defense on the field. Not a dumb thing to do from a managerial standpoint. Try to win games, but honestly, that's not going to realistically get you anywhere and in the playoffs. And if you ever get behind in a game, you can count them out. Now the Falcons were interesting because they were coming into this week 7-0 against the spread, and then got trounced by the Bengals this last week, and that came to an end. And the reason that they're so good against the spread is because of that clock management, right? Um, Bringing in a fresh face if they continue to lose, like Ritter, who
mm,
was a quarterback pick this last year, might be better for Pitts, might be better for Drake London, might be better for Pat going forward, might be better for the offense. Obviously, more mistakes might happen. The offense might not run as smoothly, but you get experience for a rookie quarterback, and you let your offense kind of shine, build on something maybe for next year. I think that would be a smart move. Nothing against Mariota. I think he's had a fine fantasy season, but honestly, I really honestly think that it might be a good idea to sit him down and get Ritter some experience. So I think he's a really good pickup going forward. And in fact, I think earlier today in our league, he just got traded for a wide receiver 3, Garrett Wilson. So yeah.
yeah. I agree. I agree with that. I think it's about time to bench Mariota. It doesn't seem like they have any confidence in him, so there's not really any point in putting him out there.
Yeah. So we had probably the biggest trade, I would say, of the year this last week. And it's already we've already seen the fruits of it. You had Chase, Camacho, 1-5. I mean, you know how that is, bottom of the rung. You're trying to make things happen. You're at the end of your rope here. Uh, Trying to and you've got Brad, uh, you know, uh, what's his damn team name? I always forget his damn team name.
You bet.
Ubat. He's got Josh Allen. He's had a few quarterback 2 problems, trying to build that super team, go into the playoffs with the 2 solid quarterbacks, which is like our old legacy way of winning championships that we've always known, from late 2000s, even into this or last decade, early, 11, 12, 13, the way to win championships in our league was to have 2 really good quarterbacks. He's going that strategy. So let's go over the trade here. It was Dameon Pierce Jimmy G, Justin Fields, Gerald Everett for Dawson Knox, Jalen Warren, Hawkinson, and Joe Burrow. Who do you think won that trade?
I think it's pretty even, honestly. Just because, like you said, Camacho's trying to get out of the bottom. Brad's shoring up his place up top. Camacho got two quarterbacks, which is elite in our league. And Justin Fields hadn't been playing very well until this past week when he just decided to run the ball a lot more, which is probably what he should normally do. And Jimmy G, he puts up a decent amount of points for being Jimmy G. Um, Whereas Brad gets Joe Burrow, his boy, and he gets two pretty decent tight ends. Jalen Warren, he already dropped him, but if anything happens to Najee, that guy would be pretty good. I think it's pretty even, just because, like I said, Camacho got two QBs and for the price of Joe Burrow, and I like the tight ends. I don't think Brad's going to keep both of them, but I like Knox and Hawkinson. Honestly, I'd try to trade one of them. Like I said, I think it's a pretty even trade, just because two QBs for one and a couple tight ends is it's a good deal for both of them for what they both needed, basically.
I think it's a classic deal in that somebody is trying to take advantage of somebody at the bottom, and he did. And I'm not going to throw Chase under the bus, throw Camacho under the bus, and say,
I will say, as a guy at the bottom, you
Mhm.
don't have that many choices. You're not going to win
Right.
on many trades because you're at the bottom, because a lot of your players just aren't doing as well as they should be. So it's like, if you want to move something, either you're going to give up your best parts for a bunch of mediocre ones to try to fill out the rest of your team, or you're going to give up shitty parts for equally shitty team parts. I don't know. It's not. There's not much you can do. Either I'm getting my throat ripped, or I'm making a fair trade that doesn't really help me move or go anywhere. So it's just like, you got to do something. You got to take some risks, like we were taking earlier. And I think that's what Camacho did. He took a couple risks with Jimmy G and Justin Fields, see what could happen.
And honestly, people villainize the people at the bottom, saying like, "Why did you do something like that? Why would you give up Joe Burrow to the guy that owns Josh Allen in a two quarterback league?" Uh, you know, like you said, everybody wants to win. Everybody still has percentages to win. You cannot take away somebody's choice to win, even if you think that their best opportunity was to keep Joe Burrow on their team. Um, Listen, football is a week-to-week sport, and if Joe Burrow gets hurt, Chase fleeced Brad. Obviously, what he gave up, Hawkinson, and bench fodder for Hawkinson, Burrow, and bench fodder for four decent players, four pretty valuable players. I mean, that's what you have to do when you're at the bottom. So we'll look back on this if Brad wins the championship, or if Brad gets hurt, or if Burrow gets hurt, and we'll say who actually definitively won. At this point, I think Brad really won the trade, as long as Burrow keeps playing the way he's set the league on fire the last 2 weeks. He's
Well,
played really, really well.
that's going to change now, because Burrow didn't get hurt, but Jamar Chase did. So I think that's
True.
you're going to see what kind of quarterback he really is without his go-to wide receiver that he can just bomb it to. It's going to be
Well,
a whole
yeah,
different game plan for him.
he cannot keep the pace that he has for the past few weeks without somebody like Jamar Chase. I
But
absolutely 100% agree with that.
because a lot
But
of if you look at the highlights for the past couple of weeks, it's like he throws it into double coverage. Jamar Chase steps in front of the DB, makes a move. The safety goes whoo, flying by with some stupid dive ass tackle, and he just walks into the end zone. He's like, whoa. I'm like, I don't know if that was really a good play by Jamar Chase, or if the DBs are just fucking angels in the outfield out there. They look like a bunch of idiots.
yeah,
So
well,
I just want to see what he does without him now, because all those plays are just always so ridiculous to me. And I'm like, really? Should you guys be in the NFL? Really? You sure?
yeah.
Go back to Wake Forest or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, we'll see how it is. My opinion is Brad won it, but again, only time will tell. We're heading in the second half here. Uh, our league statistics, gentlemen, Disco Lemonade, put out the league statistics for the first half, ranks based on our positional ranks, position statistical ranks for the first half of the season. It was pretty clear the haves and the have-nots from the first half, meaning the people who were good offensively in the first half were at the top, and the people who were bad offensively in the first half were at the bottom. My question is, and there's a conversation there about, because I feel like defense wins championships. Do you think that, okay, first of all, let me clarify, defense wins championships, meaning if you have a decent offense and a great defense, you can win a championship against a great offense with a terrible defense. If you have no offense, if your offense is terrible, it doesn't matter. The rest of the team does not matter. Okay, that is, let me clarify that. How much do you think in our league, IDP contributes to winning a championship? That's my question to you.
I think the concept of defense wins championships is like you were just saying, you still have to have a pretty decent to good offense. And
Yes.
essentially it's the difference maker in the postseason. Because in the postseason, you're always going to see everybody's going to have, those star QBs, star wide receivers, star running backs on their teams. And it's going to be fairly even matchup offensively. The difference for every team is always going to end up being the defense, being whether you have a guy that averages 0 to 5 points a week, 5 to 8 points a week, or 8 to 12 points a week or more. And that's going to be the difference because you have 6 guys on your defense. If they're all scoring 5 to 8 points and your opponents are scoring 8 to 12 points each, that's a huge difference. That's a 30 to 60 point swing right there, depending on your defense and how poorly they do. Because a lot of times defenses that aren't maintained very well do very poorly, put up goose eggs or put up less than 5 points. And that's where the difference comes in. That's when championships win, when defense wins you championships. I know for me, at least in one of my ships against Brad, it was a pick six that really made the difference in the game. We both had great offenses. We both had great QBs, but it was my defense that made the difference in the game. That his defense was, they just weren't the big play turnover kind of guys. And I had some solid guys and I had some splash guys, and it was the splash guys that finally came through. And so those are the kind of things that can make or break your team in the postseason. And I think that's why I agree with you that defense does win championships.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's definitely not a concentration on defense as far as our fantasy league. People look at their teams, they want the receivers, they want the running backs, they want the tight ends. They want to fill that. They don't care about defense. Well, fill me in some people off the free agent wire. That's great. And right now that might be doing things for you as far as, getting up the standings to get those early season wins. As the season progresses, if you concentrate on defense, you concentrate on kicker or tight end, the things that people don't usually value, especially at this point in the season, especially how these statistics show, if you look left when everybody else is looking right, I think you have an advantage going forward. And I think that's something that people are ignoring. We'll see as time goes on. How I explain how my season has gone, I'm first in defense, almost first in every defensive metric. I am in 9th place, 4-3. So as this has shown, I am last in offense, dead last in offense. I'm worse than you in a lot of offensive metrics.
My team isn't that bad. It's my points against that are bad.
Well, there's that as well. And a lot of this has to do with luck. I've faced some teams that have really shit the bed. Puts me at 4-3. I could easily be 1-6, 2-5, but anybody could, because that's just how fantasy football works in a head-to-head league. But I think that I've struck out and whiffed offensively terribly this year, taking risks that have not worked out, obviously, with DJ Moore. Kyle Pitts has played shitty. Davis Mills really hasn't played up to the point that I want him to at this point. Taking risks, spot low on Kenny Pickett and Deontay Johnson. That they really haven't improved since they've, become starters, or at least Kenny Pickett. It is what it is. yet I'm still 4-3 and still surviving, still treading water. So, um, yeah, defense is not going to carry you by itself. But when it comes to winning a championship, you got to have it. You got to have that. You got to have a tight end. You got to have a kicker. You can't just bring some scrubs off the street. So just something to pay attention to. Let's talk about the first half real quick, and you can chime in here if you feel like it. I put together MVP and not MVPs for the first half based on position, and not MVPs the obvious guys, the number one overall at their position. I'm talking about MVPs based on where they were drafted and expectations that we had on them before the season. Let's start with QB. It's got to be Geno, right? Currently, Geno is quarterback, I want to say 6 or 7. I think he's 7. Yeah, he's 7. So quarterback 7. So you got Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, Jackson, Hurts, Herbert, which is totally predictable, and then Geno. Okay, that's pretty damn good considering he was a bottom 3 quarterback, I think, taken in the draft. Really outplayed his average draft position. Wide receiver Devin Duvernay. We had a big laugh about this in our draft because Devin Duvernay was just put up on a pedestal by Yahoo, giving him predictions at 12, 13 points a game. So he's really come through. I think it's bolstered by return touchdowns and his targets per game, but it is what it is. He's had a great first half. Khalil Herbert at running back, somebody that's really come out and spelled David Montgomery pretty well, and obviously has looked like he's the better of the running backs in Chicago. Taysom, I'm not going to talk forever on Taysom. I know I bored people with all my Taysom talk, but honestly, tight end 3, after being Mr. Irrelevant on our draft, I drafted him at the very end, hoping that he would get some tight end work. He is somebody that they're featuring week in and week out at quarterback, tight end, receiver, running back, everywhere. Ryan Suckup, that Tampa Bay offense, it just is not scoring touchdowns. And when they're not scoring touchdowns, at least they're getting to the other side of the field. Suckup is hitting the field goals. I think his only misstep is a missed 40 to 49er. And that's why, for me, again, I like kickers who don't miss. Ryan Suckup gets the kicker first half MVP. And on defense, you know this guy really well. Tariq Woolen is somebody that we're going to have to be watching from here on out. I feel like he is a Darrelle Revis type player who's going to have an island and people are not going to want to throw at him. But these corners only ever become those type quarterback or corners that nobody wants to throw at them after they have a season where people do throw at them and get burned time and time again. So yeah, those are our first half MVPs. Is there any other first half MVPs that I'm missing?
No, I mean I think that's a pretty solid list. Like you said, you know, nobody expected Geno to be this good. Never underestimate a quarterback with a chip on his shoulder. Devin's got a lot of roles he plays, so he's got a lot of chances to touch the ball. And if Lamar is going to throw the ball, it's usually a bomb anyway, so that's helpful for him. Khalil has been the fresher legs of the running backs in Chicago, and they're a run-heavy team, so that's always good for him. Taysom Hill's having the year of his life. He's really having a career season with what's it called? James Winston being out. He's taking advantage of everything. Suckup's on a good team that they're always going to be at least in scoring position for him, you know? And like you said, Brady's playing so bad, they're not scoring many touchdowns, so it's field goals all day for Suckup. And Tariq Woolen, I think I agree with the fact that he's playing so well right now that next year he might be fantasy irrelevant, basically.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's do overreaction Thursday. What's wrong with Tom Brady? We'll start out with that. You know, he's just not playing up to what we thought it would be when he came out of retirement. Speaking of coming out of retirement, is there anything more annoying than somebody retiring and wanting all the attention to themselves and getting all these tributes and people saying they're the best they ever do it and all this sort of stuff, and then coming back unexpectedly and sucking ass? Like, Serena Williams is doing this right now, and it's to me, I'm sorry, it's the most annoying fucking thing in the world. Like, you get the whole sports world to stop what they're doing and praise you and say, you've inspired me and you're one of the best to ever do it, and like all this sort of shit. And everybody goes through this pomp and circumstance. And then you're like, well, I'm not done playing though. After like 6 months, well, I'm not done. I don't know why you thought I was done. It's like, come on. Like when you're done, you're done. Brett Favre did this whole thing and he came back for a different team and we all thought it was great. And I thought it was great at the time. Obviously, Brett Favre, looking back on that, it wasn't as great as I thought, but you know, this Tom Brady literally did this within like 2 months. So it's not, I don't know. What's wrong with Tom Brady? Tell me what's wrong with Tom Brady.
Well, there's a lot of issues wrong with Tom Brady. He's got a lot of confidence issues and major ego shattering kind of complex. But we don't need to dive into that right now. Essentially, the way I like to look at it, like the different experiences you just said, that first retirement is a retirement from the good player that we knew. When they come back, they're coming back as that, like, in a movie where they kill someone and they're like, oh, can you bring him back though? Can you bring him back to life? And they're like, he's not going to be the same though. They're like, I don't care. I'll still love him. And they're like, okay. And then they come back and they're like half zombie and they're like kind of weird and like not the same at all. And they're like, this isn't what you told me. And they're like,
Yeah,
okay, but here he is. That's what happens every time. They come back as this half zombie life version of themselves, and they're just like, "Oh, I can still do it. I can throw a football over them mountains over there."
ooh,
And it just
yeah.
everything's just very Uncle Rico of them, and
Mm.
it just reeks of desperation, really. And it's like, dude, you're not the same guy anymore. And honestly, for Tom Brady's sake, he's starting to feel a lot like Aaron Rodgers, with where he's just pointing fingers at everybody else and
He's
just kind of like
screaming at his O-line.
blaming. Yeah, and it's like, so if you were part of a team and someone that's not your boss is yelling at you to do a better job and telling you that you suck and that you should be benched, is that motivating to you? Is that like, ooh, let me put in some extra effort for this guy? Or do you think to yourself, wow, who's this piece of shit? Thought he retired. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like nobody is going to respect them. Nobody's going to, like, actually try to protect them. You're yelling at the guys that are supposed to protect you. I mean, honestly, it's like at a certain point, be like, it just kind of like be like that scene in Longest Yard where they're just like, just let him throw. Fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
at some point, you've got to be a leader, and pointing fingers and yelling at people is not being a leader. You've got to take some accountability, and obviously with Tom Brady's sake, like I said before, he's got more important things on his mind right now. He's got other shit that he thinks are more compelling to him because he's got, football all figured out. Because to him, he's perfect. If anything goes wrong, it's somebody else's fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your guy's fault. So it's like, until they get that complex out of their ass, which they're never going to because they are who they are now, nothing's going to change. So it's just like, you're just waiting for them to leave.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well,
You're just
well,
waiting for them to accept the fact that they need to be done. But I mean, there were times like, Joe Montana or somebody, went to Kansas City after leaving the 49ers to go suck. It's like, this is just something they have to do. I could see Aaron Rodgers going to another team and sucking. You think Aaron Rodgers is going to, retire and become a family man? No. He's gonna be out there playing until he has nobody else to point fingers at. So
there was some talks that maybe this was his last year. I don't think Aaron Rodgers is built like Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a freak as far as health, but I mean, he's really damn old. Uh, yeah,
time catches up with everybody.
I mean, try to get into his head. If you really put everything on the line to come back and still play at a high level, and you were getting beat out by PJ Walker, XFL, star,
They
and
lost to they
embarrassing.
lost to the Steelers. They lost to Kenny Pickett and Mitchell
They lost
Trubisky.
Kenny Pickett, yeah, and embarrassing your team. I mean, obviously, this is not good. This is really bad for the Buccaneers, for Tom Brady's legacy, for literally everybody involved. Chris Godwin's career, Fournette's
I mean,
career,
he
like
already
all these
won a Super
people.
Bowl there in Tampa Bay. I mean, his legacy, I don't think any of that matters. I mean, nobody, that's done. It's just
Whatever,
today he
man.
sucks. Everybody
Jerome
sucks at the end
Bettis.
of their career.
Jerome
Yeah,
Bettis went
Jerome
out
Bettis went out
on
on top.
top.
because he was
People will
smart.
always
He
remember
wasn't.
that.
It wasn't always an ego thing of like, oh, I got to get one more, And it's like, dude,
Yeah. People will
sometimes you're
always
done.
remember that. I respect Jerome Bettis for that. It makes me
Yeah,
like happy thinking about that.
I respect him
This
for being
his
smart enough
legacy.
to know that though. Instead of coming back and like sucking so much to the point they cut him or something like that. You don't want to put your team in that position. Like Ben probably should have been done a little bit ago because the offensive line was so bad he didn't have mobility. If he had a better offensive line, like he could have gone and probably done really well at the Indianapolis Colts because they had a good line, but the Steelers didn't, so they had to go. It's just a matter of time, kind of thing.
I think if he plays at this level for the rest of the year, I know they asked him earlier or last week, if you consider retiring next year and whatever, and he tried to put that baby to bed by saying I have no retirement in my near future, which is the smart thing to do. Don't
Yeah.
play at it like you're going to do
So
that
somebody
every
asked,
year.
if you keep sucking like you
Yeah,
are right now, will
basically.
you retire?
Yeah,
Because yeah, you fucking should.
he should. It's because it's tough to watch, and you gotta know when to fold them. As Kenny Rogers once said. This London game coming up on Sunday, another Broncos primetime game. You gonna be up to watch the Broncos? You gonna sleep in?
I like a little London football game. I always love a little London. I'll turn it on. I'll probably miss a little bit of the first quarter, but I'll definitely watch it. What was this story about Russell Wilson doing exercises on the plane?
Yeah. Yeah, so Russell Wilson obviously is getting over a myriad of injuries. He's not playing up to speed. He's kind of losing the respect of his teammates, and apparently on
Ah,
the plane, he was staying limber by doing high knees in the aisle while everybody else was sleeping. Just
okay, so first of all, if you're injured, then stay out until you're healthy. If you're playing, then you're healthy enough to fucking play. And you can't blame your shitty play on injuries. It's one or the other. You can't be saying, oh, I decided to play, but I'm injured. That's why I suck. If you're injured and that's why you sucked, then fucking bench yourself and don't be a detriment to your fucking team. Second of all, you're flying to London. Your coach has booked an overnight flight that leaves at 7 p.m. and arrives there at 8 a.m. so that when you arrive there, you're on London time. If you're staying up all night doing high knees and what other jackass sugar high toddler activities he could think of, not only is he not sleeping, he's distracting his teammates who are trying to sleep, who probably don't sleep well in airplanes because they're all 400 pounds and can barely fit in those seats. It just seemed like somebody should be like, hey, Russell, shut the fuck up and sit your ass back down in your seat. Like something like regulate this fucking kid because
Brett
the
Rippon
whole
should have
point they
said that.
did it just seemed so ridiculous to me. And Russell's like, yeah, I was doing high knees on the airplane. I'm like, dude, well, do some high knees to a fucking victory or something. Like, don't. He just acts like a little kid, and I'm just like, dude, you need to take this more seriously. And the thing is, he doesn't have to because he's been guaranteed the money. That's the problem.
You know the people on social media that just post a bunch of inspirational quotes and just spout bullshit every single day. And
Oh yeah,
I mean, he is like a collection of all those people. I feel like if there's one person in the league, in the NFL that I would not get along with, like I could not even have a conversation with over a beer, it's Russell Wilson because I feel like he would in some way try to inspire me or like not even the religious side, but just like the church pastor like attitude where it's like you can be better than what you are now kind of thing. It's like shut up, man. I just want to talk about, like football or something. It's just I don't know. It's like that with the combination. Like if he was kicking ass right now, we'd all be like joking around about that, but we'd be like, damn, he's good. But right now, he is just a punchline of the league. It's kind of sad to
the
watch.
Broncos are the punchline because they paid that. Who's the fool? The fool or the one that pays the fool $250 million guaranteed?
Yeah, you're very good point. Very good point. Um, Last thing on the overreaction Thursday, we've seen Burrow light the league on fire. I know we talked about him earlier with that trade talk. Is he the real deal? You think that continues?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Burrow's been the real deal for the last few years. I mean, the fact that he went down with a knee injury his first year and came back and took his team to the Super Bowl in the second year is nothing short of extraordinary. The guy's a beast. He can handle pressure. He's taken probably more sacks than anybody since he got into the league, and still doing well. I mean, that you do not usually see that. Somebody that takes that many sacks, either they're losing every game or at least their confidence is shattered, and that's neither one of them for him. So if he could take a few less sacks, that would be the only thing. But the guy's the real deal. The guy's a fucking champ.
Yeah, he had a rough week 1 through 4. He had surgery and didn't really get any preseason in, so it feels like he's just now warming up and getting into what brought him to the Super Bowl last year. So yeah, I agree. I think that continues. Let's do team that most have disappointed you last week.
Teams that most disappointed me last week. I mean, I I'd have to say that the Steelers are still disappointing me.
Yeah.
I just want to see more, and I'll get more into that when we do the temperature check. But they're still just
Mhm.
so disappointing to me.
Yeah.
How about you?
Buccaneers had them in a few parlays. Obviously, that's a selfish way of looking at it, but you lose to the goddamn Panthers as a 14-point
Yeah.
favorite. Disgusting. Team that most impressed me this last week. I'm going to go with the Bears. We hadn't seen that side of the Bears since Justin Fields became quarterback. That's what they drafted him to do. That's what they drafted Justin Fields to go out and make this offense look like. Somebody that can extend the pocket, run when it breaks down. I mean, it looks like he was just everywhere. He looked like Kyler Murray incarnate, and it was really good. So the Bears really impressed me. I need to see 2 weeks to think that that's the real deal, and not just like a prime time failure by the New England team that really couldn't move the ball in the first half until Zappy came in. But yeah, I was really impressed by the Bears. Which team really impressed you last week?
I'm gonna have to stick with Dallas, and specifically Dallas's defense. Their defense has just been crazy lately, and I wasn't sure what it was going to look like for the whole team in general when Dak came back, but they played really well. I know Detroit hasn't been playing that well lately, but they did light up some people earlier in the year, so the defense really held them in check, and it just looks like a scary team right now. They can run the football, they can play tough defense, and they've got the weapons to go to the air when they need to.
Yeah. Yeah, Micah Parsons got me a bonus sack on Thursday, sack corrections. That defense is playing very, very well. Player that most disappointed you this last week?
I'd have to go with all of the players in the Steelers defense that dropped interceptions.
Mm.
Have you ever worn one of those gloves that the NFL players wear? Have
Yeah,
you ever thrown?
they're
You
pretty
could
sticky.
you could literally you could like put one of those on and just flat palm a fountain and come up with 500 coins just like this. Not even squeezing, not even gripping. You'll pick up $10 in coins.
Hmm.
The amount of interceptions they dropped was just inconceivable. It was absolutely inconceivable. It blew my mind.
Yeah.
How it could literally hit them in the chest, in the numbers, in the hands. They just go, oh, I dropped it.
Yeah, it looked
Just
like
like,
that was a
oh,
winnable game. Pickett came up short
yeah.
at the end, but I think that was a winnable game. Player that most disappointed me, I'm a nostalgic guy. I hate seeing people go, especially people who, started out in what I call the prime of my football days, which is the mid 2000s there. So Matt Ryan, looking like he's at the end of his career, at least as far as a starter, was kind of sad. How we know Joe Flacco now as a permanent backup and somebody that's never going to start again is now how you have to look at Matt Ryan, somebody that 4 or 5 years ago was in the Super Bowl and had a really high-powered offense, fell off really quickly, and it's because he really can't move. And when you're a quarterback
Yeah.
that is somebody that's dependent on accuracy, getting the ball out, you know, when you get older, there's not
He
really
looks
play.
like one of those guys that has only ever played quarterback.
Uh,
Like he's not an athlete. He's a quarterback. Like an athlete that plays quarterback is someone like Patrick Mahomes or even Lamar Jackson. They're both athletes that play quarterbacks because they can make plays off script. Matt Ryan, if the play goes off script, That's it. Like you said, he can't move. He's just like, shit. Play wasn't designed to go like this. I'll just follow. So
Right.
that's kind of the biggest issue. I think the league in general is moving towards athletes that play quarterbacks instead of people that are quarterbacks.
Oh, absolutely. They've been moving towards speed forever. Speed combined with strength. Player that impressed me the most over the weekend was definitely Joe Burrow. I know this is a Joe Burrow podcast, but he did really well. He burned the league last week, and he may continue to do so. Who impressed you the most?
I was going to go with the guy you mentioned earlier, in Justin Fields. He was amazing on Monday, and
Mhm.
that was what I've been waiting for him to do. Is honestly stop listening to your coaches. Your coaches don't know what they're doing. That's why they were hired by the Bears. So, like, just take the ball into your own hands most of the times, and that's what he did. He just started running it most of the time, and when you see all the DBs turn their back to you, just take off. So it's like if they're not going to spy you, if they're not going to play that part of the game, then take advantage of it. So yeah, that was finally entertaining to watch him finally putting at least some of his athleticism to use.
Right.
Whereas before it's like he was an athlete playing quarterback, but he was trying to just play quarterback and not be an athlete. I was like, just be you, man. Just be you. And
Yep.
he went out there and did it on Monday night, which was good to see.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Matchup of the week. We started doing this last week. We said shot bets. I haven't seen you in person since we've done this, so there was no shot to be handed out. But you
What? I
lost.
thought I'm ready. I'm
Oh,
ready.
you're ready. You're ready.
I'm
Oh,
ready.
shake it up. Shake it up,
Yeah,
baby.
I like it chilled.
Okay.
So,
Well, let's see what we got.
yeah.
Thanks you
Well,
to Disco Lemonade, I guess, won this one after you picked.
yeah.
So Disco Lemonade, this one's for you. What are we drinking here, by the
Cheers,
way?
Disco. A little Espolon chilled.
Espadon.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cheers, Disco.
Cheers, Disco. Okay. Oh, looks like we're even. Looks like we're even. Okay, so let's do one for this week. And
Let's
we
do it.
do match of the week, and we're doing the top two records of the people who are competing, the most entertaining matchup of the week in our fantasy league. Disco Lemonade's in it again. Okay, he's 5-2, but he's facing another team that is at the top of the standings in Notorious. So two 5-2 teams going at it. I guess it's my turn to pick. You picked last week. So based on what we see here, uh, listen, I don't like the New Orleans offense outside of Taysom. I don't. I think that they're brutal. That Philadelphia matchup is going to be closer than you think. When I say Philadelphia, I mean Pennsylvania matchup is going to be closer than you
The
think.
Steagles game.
The Steagles game, yeah, that's going to be closer than you think. Um,
No,
I'm
it's not, no.
going. I mean, there's many reasons. Starting two Green Bay running backs, Stafford struggling in interdivision games. They're going. They're playing against San Francisco this week. I like Neal's defense better. There's a number of things. I like Tom Brady tonight as well. I'm going to take Disco again. He got me a shot last week. I'm going to go Disco again. It looks like you're on Notorious side, so we'll see next week who takes the shot. You like that Notorious pick? Are you confident, Danny?
I, I do like the Notorious pick, just because I don't think that a struggling old man on a short week is going to do better. Um, I mean, other than the starting two Green Bay running backs for Notorious, I really like the rest of his lineup. I know you said Stafford struggles against division teams, but at least he's got Cooper Cup, and he's going to get a lot of that regardless. I think it's going to be a very close matchup either way. So I think you can't really go wrong picking either one of them. But Disco has really had a lot of good offensive firepower lately, so I think it's a good pick.
Yep. It's so like to me, it's fun in a fantasy aspect to have two running backs from the same team. I don't think we've ever really seen that. But he's got Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon and no one else. Like literally no one else. He has Elijah Mitchell on IR. When he comes back, he's obviously going to be useless as waiver wire fodder. But no one else. He's just rolling with Aaron Jones and AJ. Like that is crazy. Props to him. He's in first place. Okay, let's keep moving on here. Gambling corner. We got a game going on tonight, and I got to tell you, this is the closest game, not only on Thursday night, of the year. Like when I made these notes, when I made the outline for this podcast, it was Bucks plus 1.5. It is now moved to Bucks -2. These teams are very evenly matched. The over/under is super close. I believe it's 46. You could really go either way. What I'm going to do, if I had to bet, I'm not going to bet on the game. I'll bet on props, but I'm not going to bet on the game. But for the sake of having bets, I'm 2-3 on the season on Thursday night bets. For the sake of having bets, I'm going to take Bucks -2 tonight. Okay, Tom Brady. On a prop, pretty confident on this. Rashad Bateman under 45.5 yards. I know they're missing Antoine Winfield, but I think this is going to be a really high-powered Lamar Jackson game where he gets outside the pocket and runs the ball. He might struggle in certain instances, but I think that the Bucks are going to be pretty content with taking away the deep shot. So, yeah, Bateman under 45.5 yards. So you think? What do you think? You like them tonight? You like the Bucks?
I do like the Bucks tonight. I have a feeling this might be an over game, just
Ooh.
because the Ravens defense has been really, really bad in the second half the past few games, and that's with a full week of preparation. So take away a few days, put them on the road. I can only assume they're going to suck more. So, with that, Lamar maybe puts up a few extra points. I do like the Bucks winning though, just because in the fourth quarter, Lamar and the defenses have both been very bad. Whereas I would just count on Brady putting together at least one drive at the end of the game.
Gotcha. Fair enough. We'll see how that fares tonight. Sunday parlays coming up. Last week was my first win when I took the Bengals and Cowboys. My first parlay win of the year. I'm going to start to get a little bit more fancy now. Okay, we've got that one win under our belt. I'm 1-4 on the season with these parlays. Shit, I'd be down only like 200 some bucks because of that big win last week. This week, going Dolphins -3. I think that line is just stupid right now. Dolphins -3. Cards and Vikings over 49, and the Eagles to win that game against the Steelers. Just money line, $100 to win 314. Does that lose anywhere? You think that loses anywhere?
No, I don't. I think you could take more of a risk. What are Eagles like +9 or something?
Eagles are -10.5.
Minus 10.5. Yeah, I'd take it. Yeah, take
it. As a Steelers fan, you just want to shit on them, huh?
No, it's not that. It's just if you'd seen the idiocracy of the play calling by Matt Canada, it's so bad. There's simple things like if you're gonna run the ball, okay, you have your offensive line, you have a strong side and a weak side, and you have a certain amount of hats on each side depending on the defense. So where would you run the ball? Where you have less hats or more hats?
Yeah.
If you ask Matt Canada, it's the side with less fucking hats, where you have less blockers. If you're running a drag route or two with the wide receiver, should you run that to the short side of the field or to the long side? If you ask Matt Canada, he'll run it to the short side. There's just so many things that you're just like, well, until they fire this guy and somebody just has the balls to be like, hey man, you fucking suck, get the fuck out of town. It's just going to be the same shit all day. Then you got people like Deontay Johnson. Watch Deontay Johnson play.
I watch him, man.
Laziest fucking cunt in the league.
He's on my team.
He's on the wide receiver that goes to the huddle when he hears the plays. He goes, "Oh, the hot route. I'm not the hot route. Oh, okay." So he just goes out there and just kind of jogs it. He's like,
targeted
the most.
He gets targeted
which
the
is
most
the
out of anybody in
worst
the
fucking
Steelers.
thing I've ever heard.
Uh,
Okay, so number one route they run in the offense is a curl route. Genius. Okay, whatever. He runs a curl route from the slot position. What's the most important thing about running a curl route? You come back to the ball when you
right.
curl.
Yeah.
You come back
The
to the
curl,
ball.
probably. Not the route, the
So
curl.
but you have to stop, turn around, and come back to the ball, or else the corner cuts down on you and intercepts it. This lazy cunt turns around, goes, oh, it was intercepted. The guy's right 2 feet in front of him. Does he try to tackle him? Does he chase him? Does he do anything? No. That lazy motherfucker just goes, oh, they was thrown to me? Oh, okay. I didn't even fucking know. Get that cunt off the field.
Oh, my
Every
God.
single play is like that. Every single play where he's just jogging along and he goes, oh, I didn't realize you're going to throw. I wasn't really paying attention on this one. It's just like, oh my God, dude. He's not talented enough to be that lazy. And if he's going to be that lazy, then get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here. I'd rather have George Pickens or even Claypool by that means. And I fucking hate Claypool, but I don't hate him as much as I hate Deontay Johnson for being such a lazy piece of shit. So, yeah, there's a difference, and because it is not only Matt Canada, and it's guys with a certain attitude in the group like that guy. They're paying him $22 million a year. $22 fucking million. That piece of shit to go out there and not even run a full curl route. For him to see a guy get intercepted right in front of him, you're just like, I'm not going to tackle him. Somebody else will go. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. Yeah, Steelers don't usually start three receivers on their offense. We can start two. Put Derek Watt back there. Put a tight end in there. I don't give a shit.
You're really not doing any favors for my team. I'm trying to move Deontay Johnson at this point, and anybody listening to this podcast is going to. You're killing me.
I watch him play every week. The guy's just a lazy bitch, and I can't. I call a spade a spade. You know, like you're gonna go out there and put in that amount of effort, then I'm gonna call you out for putting in that shit amount of effort, man. Like it was every single play with him this past weekend, and there were multiple times. The very last interception, he does an inside post route at the very end when he's supposed to do a curl route. It's a little off by Kenny Pickett. It's interception, but it's still it was the exact amount of effort that he put in all game, and I'm so sick and tired of watching him play.
Yeah, well, I'm just gonna let you call my fantasy team lazy bitches. I guess I'll stand by and let you do it.
It's just one of them.
Just one of them. Just one of them. Okay, that's fair enough. We're gonna count that as a Steelers heat check. Is that all right?
Oh yeah, that's cool.
DFS review. Last week, I was pretty on Burrow and Jamar Chase. I thought they were going to blow the league away. It turns out that it was Burrow and Chase and every other Bengal. The winning lineup was Burrow, Chase, Higgins, Boyd, Hurst, both Cowboys running backs, and the Cowboys defense, which just blows the mind of every expert and every person that's ever constructed lineups in daily fantasy. That just never happens. It happened last week. The guy won $1 million. This week, and I'm staying on this theme, okay? Staying on this theme, stacking teams. This week, I like Tua, Waddle, Hill to get up there, okay? Goff, Amon-Ra, Hawk is a good stack, I think. And then Kyler Murray, Hopkins, Ertz. Those three are going to be the ones that I focus the most. We'll see if we can go anywhere with that. But I really like the Tua, Waddle, Hill. I think that is going to be a really lopsided game, and Tua might have a really, really good week. So
I like those. I really like the Hill pickup. I wouldn't be surprised in a Daniel Jones big week.
really?
And he might be very cheap.
Oh, absolutely.
Quarterback wise, and you could fill out the rest of your roster with some studs.
Yeah,
there's something
absolutely.
to think about.
Yep. Last survivor pick of the week. I've been pretty obvious. I feel like I've been surviving. I survived last week with the Cowboys. I know a lot of people would have picked the Bucks. I just didn't want to go there. This week I'm going, and get this, with the Falcons. I think Falcons are going to win this week. I don't think there's any way in hell that Carolina comes on the road and does exactly what they did against Tampa Bay. I think it's a 1 week fluke. I think you're still talking about PJ Walker and an inept offense. Let's go with the Falcons. I think the Falcons win this week. Is there a team that
it's not bad?
I'm guessing you're going to go Eagles.
Yeah, yeah, I like it. Coming off a bye, 6-0. Steelers defense has been playing better, but not good enough to be winning football games. The offense is probably going to have one of their toughest matchups defensively since the Bills game, which they got trounced in. So I don't really see there being really any good possible way of them winning. I mean, you add in today that the Eagles even went and got Robert Quinn to add a little extra pressure on the line. It's it'll definitely be Kenny Pickett's toughest matchup. So yeah, I would go with the Eagles. I think that's an easy win.
Okay. Probably a safe bet, but we'll see. I think those you gotta say that game, battle for Pennsylvania, the Eagles coming into this game with a World Series coming up against the Astros. Maybe, Philadelphia starts to crumble one by one. Did you know that next week there is a Philadelphia versus Houston game every single day of the week, including Thursday, which is going to be Houston against the Eagles on Thursday night. Isn't that exciting?
That is pretty cool. I like that.
Monday through Wednesday, Astros, Phillies. Thursday, Texans, Eagles. Friday, Saturday, Sunday is also Astros, Phillies, if needed, if the Astros don't sweep them in 4, which we're all crossing our fingers for. Scott, that's it. We need to get ready and watch some football, man. It's always good to talk to you. I think we should just dress up every week.
I do feel like a lot better in fantasy football manager this week, so I agree.
You do. Hey, if you win this week, we'll make you a deal. If you win, you got to wear that for the podcast next week. In
All right,
fact,
that sounds
until
good.
you lose. From here on out, guys, we're going to try to have a 3-person panel, so we'll be having guests every week in the second half. But hey, good first half, Scott. Always good to have you on the podcast and get to talk football with you every week. So thank you for showing up today. Guys, we will talk to you next week, same time, same place. See ya.